Welcome back to another part of this F125 My Team Career Mode. This is part number 23 today for the British Grand Prix in Season 2. Last time out, we had our very first reverse track inside of My Team Career Mode, and Austria Reverse did not disappoint. Chaos and drama at the end with crashes and a last lap, last corner move between teammates after a late safety car saw George Russell win the race after Piastri had a difficult one. It's game on in the Drivers' Championship, it would seem, for Russell versus Piastri, and maybe an outside chance there of Leclerc. I say chance, there's still so long to go in the season, so everyone's still very much in it. But we're seeing a pattern forming maybe of a real resurgence of Mercedes. They're leading the constructors. They've gone from third to first in a matter of a couple of races. You know, at one point Red Bull were there. At one point Ferrari were also looking to maybe close a bit. But Merc are there. And we are there in P4, gaining on Williams. A lot thanks to one of the Williams spinning last episode. But, you know, we carry on plugging away with that luck, and now we come to our home Grand Prix. It was a really difficult one for us in Season 1. I'm hoping for a better time with a better car relative to the cars around us this time round. And you can clearly, hopefully, tell by the engine cover at the back of that car, we have got a special one-off British Grand Prix livery for today's episode, as the Union Jack is there and proud on the engine cover in the fluoro yellow colours on the black. Looks pretty tidy. Very similar vibes to, actually, ironically, our in-game rivals, Williams. They did a similar sort of thing where they had a Union Jack kind of carved out on the engine cover, I think like 2 years ago, wasn't it? So we've done a very similar thing to our main in-game rivals, and a couple of sponsor changes in terms of we've now unlocked some of the new variants for some of the newer sponsors on the car, and just kind of giving you an update on how the car is looking in detail. We've moved some sponsors around. I really like this detail of the Equator Oil logo, the flame or the oil droplet logo now sitting perfectly on either side of the rear wing. We've got an update on the inside of the halo, and just generally the car still looking absolutely gorgeous, as I've alluded to in a recent video. Really loving the decal editor on this year's game quite a lot. Very impressed by it. And to couple with the special one-off British Grand Prix livery, we're going to be driving, this kind of a spoiler, I guess, we're going to be driving as Jenson Button, the British driver in this team, and we have got a special one-off helmet for him, going back to those original colours that he has in this game, and the colours he was running in his McLaren days, with an added on bit of fluoro with the design motifs we've added from his current WEC helmet, actually, as I stated right at the very start of this series. I hope you enjoyed both of those in tandem, the helmet and the slight one-off livery change, as we now go through into the management in between Grand Prix. We've got a bit of time in-game in the activity timeline to lock on a lot of activities in, from the owner side of things to engineering to the corporate side, always trying to improve the hiring rate, because it's almost an impossible challenge, I'm finding. I don't think we've ever got to about even 80% of the workforce on the engineering side being filled up. I just cannot seem to get there. Let me know. I'm actually quite curious. Are any of you guys maxing out your engineering workforce in your My Team save? Because for the life of me, I can't figure out how to actually get it to the maximum, which matters. The reason I care is because the higher that is, the more efficient your team is. It takes less time to research, less time to develop things. So trying to get that up as much as you can, and then also just having a look at the engineering side. But I really find the engineering boosters not too helpful, because I feel like the caveat of getting faster rate of development but also having higher failure kind of counteracts it, and I'm just horribly unlucky also in that department in this series so far with things failing. But one thing that's not failed is that facility upgrade coming in as we try and edge our way towards phase 3. I really do think we can get there. I keep saying 2 episodes. I think now it's 2 episodes. Please trust me there. I think we can get there, and we can actually start to get some new breakthrough upgrades on the car before the season's over. It might be awkward timing, though. We might get the breakthrough on the extra upgrades unlocked as we also find out about the R&D reset. So that's going to be a problem that future me is going to have to deal with, but right now I am gunning for that to try and get performance on this year's car, just because it's always, obviously, you want to be moving forwards. It's going to be pretty painful if at the end of the season we have to accept we're maybe falling backwards a little bit as we focus on to next season, but at the same time, that's the way it works, you know. You have to figure out when to swap over to next year. Maybe you guys have some thoughts on that, you know. Should we actually now focus everything on next year and kind of just take the pain maybe of difficult races coming up for the rest of the season, or do you want to see me pushing on just a little bit longer, maybe, you know, for the next 3 episodes, and then maybe wind it back, you know, just get to that breakthrough and then do it as we continue to bring updates to the car. 2 different chassis upgrades being developed, one of them being done ahead of time so we can equip that. I'm going to equip that to Tramnits, but I think by the time we get to the British Grand Prix, we should have both of those parts in. Another facility upgrade coming in, so they're coming thick and fast, and that bar is slowly going up. I'm basically looking at what upgrades give the most workforce. You can see it says workforce increase, and the cheapest bang for buck upgrade I can make now with the highest workforce is ironically the durability. So the durability department, they're getting a hand-me-down. They're getting charity from me, because usually I wouldn't bother buying that, but the workforce increase at a very cheap price relative to everything else will go for it as we continue to buy personnel upgrades to add to the driver evolution part of the personnel, i.e. trying to grow our drivers' overall stats, which did change, by the way. You guys actually did correct me in, I think, 2 episodes ago, that Tramnits definitely did grow from the start of the series to now, but the rate of growth was quite slow compared to what now, hopefully, we can get with, you know, we're on, like, you know, getting towards now level 2 out of 3 of this driver evolution. So there's only, you know, 3 levels now to the driver evolution, whereas I think before, wasn't it 4 different phases or levels in the original My Team with the HQ facility? So bit of a difference there, so maybe we can make more of an impact, or maybe they've just reduced the effect of the growth, I suppose. But now, getting into a very exciting part, it's a meeting with Ollie Behrman. It's our 2nd meeting, I believe, so this is getting into some real important talks now, because we're 1 talk away from getting the best contract possible with him, and the timing, we're not too far away from the contract window being opened. And so far, things are looking good. I'm seeing, you know, good numbers here. You know, the fan rating 3, we're fan rating 4. Vehicle performance is rank 4. That's the only one we might not be able to hit. I think engineering workforce, we are just about over 222 there. So far, the numbers are looking good. The contract's not crazy. 5 million annual signing bonus is very, very reasonable. So, and with Behrman, more so than Antonelli, Behrman's really the no-brainer one that we have to pursue because he's a free agent. If he wasn't a free agent, as I've said, that might be a bit different. Then I might not go for him. But because he's a free agent, it's kind of a big gimme, you know? I feel like if there's ever a free agent that's that, you know, decent for what he's worth as a free agent, you go for it. Antonelli, though, still undecided if we're going to commit to both driver swaps, both driver changes, and that's kind of something that I'm going to leave you guys hanging with and not confirm totally to you guys until we get to the end of the season, at pre-season for season 3, to keep you guessing, because it seemed like a lot of you guys enjoyed the guesswork and the not knowing of who we'd actually go for. And that's before, you know, maybe a driver approaches us at some point this season, but why they would is because of this R&D progress. We are making steady progress. You're seeing plateaus for McLaren, Ferrari, Williams, Aston, even the top 2, Red Bull, Merc. We're the only team, apart from maybe VCarb down below us, continuing the trajectory of R&D upgrades. So even though it hasn't felt that amazing in terms of, it hasn't felt like we're bringing constant big upgrades to the car, we are actually just chipping away consistently, and that's all you can ask for as we now go into our home race, the team's home race, and the driver I'm going to be taking on this Grand Prix with home race. Jensen Button, let's dive into the British Grand Prix race weekend.
Welcome along, everybody, to a venue that was built for speed. Once an airfield, now one of the finest racetracks in the world. It's qualifying day here at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix.
It's Silverstone, of course it's raining. Of course it looks absolutely miserable. It is pissing it down at the British Grand Prix here in qualifying. It's the full wet tyres, not even inters. I think is this the first time we've even used the full wets? on the game, in the series. I think so far we've only really had to deal with intermediate, so this might be the first proper on-track session with the full wet tyres. The big tread really raises the ride height of this car. And obviously in the ground effect era, that really does change things maybe for how the car is sticking to the road. And I was very worried and concerned about maybe what the pace would be like. And off the first lap, it's not looking amazing. I think you'll agree. P17, 16, I'm slower than Tramnit. So the AI advantage in the wet, in that first run, seemed pretty clear. But then, on my second run, we were gaining time everywhere, and you can see the track. You know, it's basically, Formula 1 cars, as Martin Brundle has said many times famously, Formula 1 cars are like hoovers when it comes to the rain. They really are the best clearers of rain on a racetrack. And on the racing line, a lot of the standing water has been washed away, hoovered up into the air with the tail of the dirty air off the rear wing. And that is making the line very grippy. And we found so much time to the point where we got up into second. Others didn't go out at the end of the session, and we got the track at its best, and we climbed up and soared through up into Q2. There is going to be an unfortunate couple of knockouts for McLaren with Lance Stroll, although how surprising that is probably not. Antonelli again maybe showing some inexperience there, getting knocked out versus his teammate. Tramnitz did make it in just about, and Williams and Aston looking pretty strong at the sharp end as we've still got this dried up line which is paying dividends. Honestly, the car feels 10 times better than it did on that first run in Q1 because of this drier line. It's basically all about staying within the tram lines, not deviating too much, maybe slightly, maybe there's something to be said about cooling the tyres offline, but we didn't really bother looking at the tyre temps, didn't really think it would play too much into the qualifying laps, to be honest. And across the line for our last lap in Q2, and it was another really solid one. So like in Canada, we are channeling our inner Jenson Button, good in the wet conditions, up into the top 10 shootout. Tramnitz does not make it in, unfortunately, but the biggest shock is both Ferrari cars are out and Tsunoda in the Williams. So that's great news for us versus our main in-game rivals. It's big for the championship, I guess, for Ferrari, the reigning Constructors champions into this season, floundering again and really not coming up to anywhere near the levels they were in Season 1, and it looks to be a very interesting battle between Red Bull and Mercedes, but it seems like maybe there is a little advantage there for the Mercedes cars off the last episode as well. Let's see how it peters out. What can the likes of Colapinto do in the Aston as well, and the Aston Martin for Gasly and Alpine. For us across the line, the first lap not electric, P6 though, ahead of Sainz, ahead of the Mercedes car. Now, with 3 minutes to go, everyone went out on the wets. I wanted to go out onto intermediates, and I set the intermediates, but did you notice what just happened there? I went to drive out, and I was too eager to drive out, and a pop-up came about, do you want to switch to the recommended tyre? Which was wets. So I came back in. This time, that's what I should have done. I should have clicked ignore, go to track on inters, because I thought the dry line was dry enough for inters. Like, you'd have to stay perfectly within the racing line. But I thought, heck, why don't we go for it? Why don't we go for glory? Go for the pole position at our home race. But because of that flub, that mistake from me, game over. That's it. We'll never know. We'll never know. We'll never know if my hunch, my gamble would have paid off, because I made a mistake there. I was too eager, ironically, to get out on track and clicked the switch to recommended, which is never really actually accurate, as we have known from previous F1 games. So P6 in the end, it's still bloody great. It's ahead of Williams, it's ahead of a Mercedes, but Verstappen returning to some fine form in wet conditions. Let's go to the race.
You join us in the United Kingdom today, or Great Britain as it's alternatively known. Well, it's certainly a great day today as we welcome you to one of the crown jewels of British sports, a track of speed, history and drama. It's Silverstone. It's the British Grand Prix. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Lawson, Norris, Jenson Button and Sainz, Albon, Colapinto, Gasly and Charles Leclerc, Tsunoda, Hamilton, Esteban Ocon and Tramnitz, Piastri, Aaron, Lance Stroll and Jack Doohan, Antonelli, Bortoletto, Hadja and Nico Hulkenberg rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And alongside me a man, well, what more can I say? But he's a legend, Anthony Davidson. I love being here at Silverstone. I know you do too. Mainly because we get to sleep in our own houses for a week. But what do the drivers enjoy most about this track?
Well, Silverstone's such a challenging circuit, Crofty, more so for the car than the driver, because these high-speed corners at Silverstone really test this modern-day F1 machinery to its maximum. We don't get that many times throughout the calendar. I can only think of Suzuka and Spa, maybe Qatar as well, with that high-energy cornering that you get here at Silverstone. So the drivers love throwing the car around through corners like Copse, Maggots and Beckett's, for example, and it's really influential for your lap time as well.
So thankfully come race day it is going to be all dry, so that's one less thing to worry about in terms of the race pace. You know, having that advantage over us in the wet would have been really nasty, but I remember last season the AI were really strong around Silverstone, and it is just a circuit that's very unforgiving, and it's a circuit that historically has been a bogey circuit for the man we're driving as Jenson Button, and for yours truly on the F1 game. There's only been 1 or 2 games where I've gone well at Silverstone, and based off season 1, this maybe isn't one of them. So even though it's a special home race, it's going to be a tough one, I imagine. We are up 1 position to P5 because Piastri, after last episode, you know, the issues he had, whatever is the case, they've had to change some sort of component, so he's been pushed back some. So that's going to be, rubbing the hands for George Russell to gain more of an advantage in the championship. And this might be a chance for his teammate, Piastri's teammate, Verstappen, to come back at him a little bit in the dynamic, this new dynamic they have at Red Bull this season, as he's on pole. It's an amazing now P3 for Lawson, I've only noticed, in the Aston Martin, and Lando Norris P4, so some good comebacks in terms of pace clearly for McLaren, who were floundering earlier. Aston have actually finally come good, so this is going to be a real scrap, I think, trying to go forwards, and we've got some fast cars behind as we go to 5 red lights here in Silverstone for the British Grand Prix in 2026. Lights out, and we're underway. It's a good getaway for the pole man, I think, as he's going to keep P1. Lawson will stay in P3, but he's trying to get up to P2. The Aston Martin Honda into second place, into Village, as we just cover off Carlos Sainz and try to nip at the heels of Lando Norris in the McLaren. Lawson still going for it, and he is actually fully ahead of Russell now. The Aston in second place, unbelievable start, but Russell will come straight back at him with the same aggression we saw at the end of the Austria reverse on his own teammate. Lando nearly gets his front wing chopped off. We nearly get our front wing chopped off, as Lufield's always very, very difficult for the concertina effect, as Carlos Sainz undercuts our line at Lufield and gets down the inside for P5. He's on the softs, lots of people on softs. We're on the mediums, because I've actually gone for an alternative strategy. I'm going to see if we can go medium to soft rather than soft medium, just thinking, from last season, I think we tried the soft at the start of the race and it just didn't work out for us, and already maybe there's a sense of a slight lack of pace in some of these corner exits, although using a bit of battery here, sticking with Sainz, and he's going to get boxed in with Lando Norris, so we're going to use that to our advantage, get down the inside, tiny graze of the grass, really squeeze out the Spaniard and get back up into P5. But for how long can we keep this up? Well, we just need to keep it up until maybe the soft tyre runners around us start to feel the tyre wear. which I hope is sooner rather than later. But Verstappen in a commanding lead, 2 seconds the gap. Piastri down in P15. He's going to be kicking himself. The Red Bull looks strong around here, but he's nowhere near the race win to capitalise as Sainz now comes back at us on lap 3. And we're not going to fight that too much with ERS because he is clearly so much quicker out the corners. That Mercedes is a joke. Russell's into second, and he's the one trying to chase down Verstappen. He's now breaking 1 second to Lawson. So the Mercs, I imagine, are going to be the 2 cars trying to chase down Verstappen. I picked Sainz to get Norris and Lawson at some point. Behind, Tramnitz, actually with DRS, maybe having a little half look at Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time world champion. Yeah, Tramnitz actually having a sniff around the Ferrari's rear end there as Piastri in clean air, closing up to that fight outside of the points for now, as we've got now a on-track battle with our in-game rival who's just tapped us. The Williams gave us a love tap on the rear end and has sent us off track, and now we've set ourselves into a half spin. It's a bad mistake for us. We've felt the pressure, and Colapinto has now capitalised on this. It's 2 Aston Martins running in the top 7. We're going to come back at Franco though with full commitment, a little bit of battery on the exit to re-overtake the Argentine driver to get up into P7 again, but that was a bad mistake from me in left field. Initially, obviously, couldn't do anything about being tapped by the Williams, but then we just lost our heads a little bit, being too desperate on throttle, trying to keep it in the inside of the Williams. Just didn't work out. Meanwhile, the Merc is up 1 position, like I said they would, is Colapinto. Oh, it's big commitment from Colapinto. Really impressive from his AI to keep his foot in, but we're going to go for the switch from right to left, get on the inside into the chicane, and then, oh, it's a spin! It's a spin for Tsunoda as we stay ahead of Colapinto. One of our other rivals, Tsunoda in the other Williams, not too hot in qualifying. He spun it. That's great news for us at least. So it's, 1 less car scoring points on us, Williams, as I am still focusing on that. That feels like the focus of our season, is just trying to lock in this P4. It'll be a good amount of money for the prize money, especially after last season, the way we lost 1 constructor's position in the final 3 races because of Alpine's resurgence. It feels really personal for us that we need to try and maintain this P4 in the constructors, which is why I keep focusing on where Williams are, basically. And we always find them on track, basically, as well as the 2 Ferraris swapping. Hamilton getting energy from the crowd, perhaps, overtaking Leclerc for the last points-paying positions as the reigning constructors champions. Not looking too hot, though, here at Silverstone. And Tramnitz is pressurising, but Piastri even more so behind, as he's lost the championship lead now, hasn't he, Piastri? So he needs to get a move on now. No longer has a cushion to rely on, and after the penalty, he's going to be desperate to get up the oar, and he might just do so on the outside. Oh! I thought we were going to congratulate him for a move well done, but Tramnitz kept his foot in and has kept the fight going all the way till the last corner, and now, finally, Piastri gets that, but kudos to Tim for really giving it his all to try and defend that, but he is going up against one of the best cars on the grid as we now start to close back to Albon. I think he's feeling the tyre wear on the softs, and so now advantage us. Finally, the mediums are looking better, and we're able to catch him with DRS as well and get up into P6. At the same time, on the same straight further down the road, Piastri overtakes the first Ferrari, and he's maybe up into P11, although the Ferraris come back at him. Leclerc giving it a good old fight. Hamilton ahead is actually overtaking the Alpine, so Hamilton is flying compared to his teammate, and Sainz is also flying. The Spaniard recovering from a poor qualifying, moves to the left, and it's going to be a pretty simple pass on Liam Lawson. So it's a 2-3 for Mercedes now, double podium as we continue to try and fight Albon. And again, we're trying to squeeze him out, but the AI are doing really well in that corner to keep their foot in. It's so hard to judge where they are when you can't see them, as we really get the elbow out there to try and squeeze out Albon. But he's still going as he now backs off. The fight with Albon is absolutely crazy. He really did not want to give up that fight and position. He will eventually, as we now lead a train of Albon, Colapinto and Hamilton. and the tyres are wearing. You can see on the bottom right with the icon, but we're carrying on, as are some of these guys as well, to be fair, to my surprise. Verstappen and Sainz still going on. I know I'm going on. I'm on the mediums, but these guys are really stretching their softs. But can you imagine if we were on softs, by the way, though, with the tyre wear we're facing, as Albon gets to us, but we're going to absolutely school him, and it's a textbook switch from right to left. Undercut his racing line. That was exquisite. That is, apart from that corner exit, that was textbook stuff there. But yeah, can you imagine the tyre wear we would have faced on the softs if we're having that orange icon on the mediums and other cars haven't even pit off their softs? So maybe there's still some tyre upgrades to clearly do versus other teams, as Hamilton and myself are the only ones continuing on, and we're not going to put up a fight versus Lewis because he's in a much quicker situation right now. The Ferrari is flying, and we just don't have the pace. Our mediums are actually severely worn. Hamilton comes in. We continue because our scheduled pit stop wasn't even till like lap 15, I think, or maybe it's this next lap, lap 14. It is lap 14. There you go, 14 to 16. So even though my icon is brick orange, brick red nearly, we had to keep going. But look at that tyre wear. The whole left-hand side of the car is ridiculous. 76% on both tyres. What is going on around Silverstone? Absolute tyre muncher. It is 76 on the rear, 74 on the front, but that's still crazy stuff. So we're now going on to the softs, only for 11 laps, but I fear we're going to get the same sort of high tyre wear right at the end of the race. At least we'll be on lower fuel, but yeah, clearly at a track like Silverstone, we maybe still need a tyre upgrade on the car to match the the rivals around us, as we are going to get overtaken by Albon, both Ferraris, Piastri as well, all ahead of us now on track, but we have got the tyre advantage 2 steps softer than Piastri, who's on hards, surprisingly. Colapinto hards behind us. Tramnitz on mediums, and Tramnitz actually closing to Colapinto, I can see on the mini-map, so he might go for a move on this next DRS straight immediately there on lap 15 as we look to warm up our soft tyres. There goes Tramnitz on the inside of Colapinto. Go on, son. Very, very good overtaking opportunity on the outside of Luffield. The German driver is going to dance our car around the outside of the Aston Martin Honda and get up into P11. That's really good, really good. P11, I can't ask for much more. I can't ask for much more from our F3 driver. P11 is very, very solid considering I'm only P10. So, like in Season 1, this, unfortunately, even though it's our home race, seems to be a very difficult one for aarava Archer Racing for this My Team car. And, a lot of teams in a different league. Verstappen, as a driver in a different league, 2 seconds clear of Russell still after 16 laps. So Verstappen is dominating this one. It's the first time, really, this season Verstappen has looked that quick as he looked in Season 1. He is the reigning champion to this season, but so far Piastri's had the full measure of him until last episode. Mistakes, a crash with Russell. Piastri definitely doesn't look like he's got the same focus as he did previously, and now we're over the back of him in Village, and Hamilton Leclerc in tandem. Albon has actually a bit of a gap ahead, which is unfortunate for us versus Williams, and we're basically pushing Piastri through turn 1. He blocks the move into Village, so we're going to play the patient game and just wait for the move on this next DRS section as we try and get the power down. Piastri, though, with the advantage out the corner, but then the DRS opens up. Bit of battery use. Piastri moves a little bit, but doesn't cover off the inside, leaves it open, and we're going to walk on right through into P9 as we now go for the next car ahead, our fellow compatriot Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion. 2 British drivers fighting for unfortunately not a very high position in this race, but it's a position nonetheless. We'll fight with gravitas as we go around the outside up into P8, and now trying to make quick work of Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, and that is a very, very late move. We caught Leclerc a little bit unawares. We kind of caught ourselves unawares as the fighting continues down into the last chicane. On board with Hamilton, just watching this fight as we clout the curb. We're going to get Leclerc a bit wide there. We're trying to get the power down. Leclerc gets squeezed out, and through goes Hamilton into P8 ahead of his teammate. Piastri does as well, but then Lewis minces us on lap 20 with the DRS. We've got no battery as well. We had 9% as Lewis overtook us, so we just couldn't get that, but we might get back down the inside of Luffield. The Ferrari not totally clean as Hamilton. I've never seen that. An AI dipped a tyre into the gravel. That's crazy work. As into Cops, neck and neck at the corner exit, we nearly banged tyres. That could have been a bit nasty. Into Mack, into Beckett. Hamilton shuts the door. It's a class drive there, and he's taken us to school. And now, oh no, now we're struggling mid-corner with the dirty air. Piastri's got us. Can we come back? It's going to be 3 wide. We're in the middle, being pinched by Piastri and Leclerc. We're going to try and hold it through. We are going to hold it through, but this is relentless. This is reminding me of Season 1. The AI are just so good. It just feels like an onslaught of pace and pace and pace. And we're down to P9. And the thing is, the tyres are starting to wear now. They really are. Leclerc's going to get us. We're deploying all the battery we can. We're down to 2% battery, and Leclerc gets us with the DRS. And it's also just simple. We just don't have the tyre wear in the corners anymore. We just don't. So that is going to be it in terms of our fighting, I think. I mean, the rear left is 60%. The front left is 54%. It's yeah, it's a bit of it's a tough, grim reading on the right-hand side. And ahead, Hamilton now clearly ahead of Piastri. He's done a job well done today, being the quicker Ferrari. Oh no! He was looking a bit slow. Hamilton retires on the second last lap. No! It's absolute pain for the British crowd. Hamilton retires with a lap to go after this one. And now Leclerc up into P8, Piastri P7. We get a free position at least into P9. But this has been the man of the day. Max Verstappen from pole to the win. He's been in absolute control. 3.5 the gap to Russell. Sainz has recovered well to get P3. Mercedes will take it because it's the wrong Red Bull in first place in terms of the Drivers' Championship. And then it's still a solid showing constructors-wise. Norris does really well to get that McLaren P4. It's one of the highest positions McLaren's been in. Lawson as well, very impressive in P5. Very impressive for Liam Lawson in the Aston, although another impressive drive from last race as well. Albon P6. So Williams will outscore us today. We're only going to score P9. And that's if we can hold off Colapinto, because Colapinto now is 9/10 behind me, and I've got 80% tyre wear on the rear left. That is scary. That is scary. I don't want to think what the soft tyre would have been like on the first stint. But here comes Max Verstappen to win at Silverstone. He wins the British Grand Prix. It's a return to fine form after a bit of a difficult part of the season for him. Lawson bagging an amazing P5 for the team that has their headquarters just up, across the road from this historic track, as we try and fend off Colapinto to keep the P9. 84% tyre wear. It might be 85 by the time we come through the final corner on the rear left. And it's points. It's something at least, but it's not a home Grand Prix we're going to remember, very quickly. But it's points nonetheless in the Union Jack livery with a one-off helmet for JB. We have to take it because that's where the car was today. That's where we were today. It's a tough one, but Silverstone always seems to be tough on this game and for us in general in the F1 game, so we'll take it.
And in the end, there was no Verstappen. Max Verstappen, he takes victory.
A great team victory today, Crofty. That's the important bit here. On home soil, the drivers delivered, the team delivered as well, and to do that in front of their home support really means a lot to them.
This is going to be interesting now because Verstappen's now pretty close to Piastri in the championship, 4 points off him. And Sainz is second. It's a 1-2 for Merck in the constructors. But Red Bull have clearly found some pace again. But is it going to be now Verstappen, the one who is going to resurge? And is he going to be the one to come back at Mercedes? And after all the great start Piastri had, is he going to take a sideline now, I wonder? That's the big question. Williams gain on in the constructors in our fight, but you know, we've still got a little bit of margin, but if they continue like that, then they will probably come to overtake us. So we need to come back stronger next time out, put this difficult one behind us, learn from it, and then we'll go from there. And maybe also some interesting driver talks to come as the window will open very soon, I think. But guys, if you have enjoyed this one, be sure to hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.